Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break, and I just wanted to mention a couple quick things before you started enjoying this game. Number one, I didn't mention at the beginning of this particular game, but I was a little bit sick at the time of the casting, and I still am. I don't know if you can tell my voice is a little scratchy right now, but I was a little sick at the time of the casting this game, so I apologize if the voice gets a little bit rough at certain points in time. And number two, this game was live casted during one of my shows called Amateur Attack on Mondays and Fridays at 8:30, which means that it has a little bit of extra lag introduced to it because it was live casted. I was trying to stream at the same time as do all the other resources that it takes to cast. So, and also, you know, it's a 2v2, so a lot of extra stuff going on the map. So my computer does lag a little bit during this, and I apologize for that inconvenience. But I thought it was a pretty fun game. It was pretty interesting. There's all sorts of different freaking units used. So, yeah, check it out. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in. I'm not going to have this stupid honky clonky menu up all the time because it is just way too much. We can see ZookaMan is excelling at his spamming right now. Look at that. Look at that spam. Oh, that is beautiful. We are going to be having ZookaMan spawning on the right-hand side, bottom right-hand side, here on Scorched Haven. On the top right-hand side is going to be his friend, his companion, his lover. Not really. It is going to be Splash. These are our heroes over here, and on the left-hand side, we are going to be having Light Kite spawning as the pink Terran player, and Freakboy as our red Protoss. So we have a little bit of every race here. Protoss Zerg versus Protoss Terran. I've always been the biggest fan of a Protoss Terran combination in twos. I don't know why. There's actually no particular reasoning for that. Can I do team colors? There we go, team colors. That's what I like to see. Blue versus red. Red versus blue. You can't say blue versus red. It just doesn't sound quite right. Just doesn't sound right. And thankfully also the players are all different races, so we'll be able to tell which player is apart from which player when we get into battle. It's not going to be like the red Protoss unit things being controlled by somebody. No, we're going to know what's going on here. Oh boy, how do you even go about casting a twos? I've only done it a couple times before. I don't these nice little resource bars or anything. I'm like completely out of any sort of resources that I usually use. So it should be kind of interesting to see how exactly this turns out here. All the players just being kind of smart. All the players that can just being kind of smart, walling off at the front of their bases. For some reason, I never wall off during twos, and I always get killed by rushes because of it. It's an awful, awful conundrum. Freakboy doing the old-fashioned, using the pylon on the ramp kind of wall off. That's something you don't really see anymore, and really shouldn't do. You really want this pylon a little bit further back just because it's a lot safer there. Light Kite actually going for a fairly quick expansion here. I love that options in the two because if you can pull off that fast expansion and defend against any early aggression your opponents are going for, you are seriously so set. It's amazing. It is amazing. Quite a few resources being banked up for ZookaMan. Going to drop an additional 2 gateways, go up to 3 gates. Probably going to be doing a 3-gate robo for him. And some sort of roach attack coming out of Splash is what I would assume we'll be seeing. Kind of waiting to see there. There we go. There's the roach worm being dropped down. He has plenty of gas for it. Just need to get that evolution chamber as well. Don't know what that's going to be for. Maybe a quick +1 missile attacks just to get a little bit of extra DPS going. Who knows? Over on the blue side of things, Freakboy just kind of doing standard stuff. Has a gateway, has the cyber, has a forge for upgrades or cannons. I'm not really sure which, to be honest. I'm not really sure which one it's going to be. And over in Light Kite's area, he does have that command center finished. Is going to be lifting that off, landing it on the low ground. And these guys really need to actually rally up on the low ground. Going to be throwing a cannon up on the high ground. I would actually love to see maybe like a pylon here, gateway cannon, and then maybe a couple of barracks. Just to help with the wall off. It helps against any sort of Zerg stuff. I made a... Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. I see it. I see it. Which I can never make these heights. There we go. I saw the heart. I loved it. I feel so blessed by that, man. Oh, excuse me. Right now, ZookaMan just kind of staying on 3 gateways. Doesn't really have the gas to do much else. There goes the probe. Is it going to be laying down a Nexus or laying down a Robotics? Looks like it's going to be... Oh, excuse me. I apologize. I had a bunch of pizza and pop for dinner, and now it's all coming back up. Looks like it is going to be a Nexus for ZookaMan, which means Splash probably going to be throwing down a hatchery at some point as well. So, Who'd have thought? We're actually probably going to be seeing a macro 2v2 game here, which is really something you do not get to say all too often. And I'm always actually a really big fan of macro 2v2s. I love late game 2v2. I think it's actually just ridiculous amounts of fun. It's all the fun of a macro 1v1 without any of the stress in my mind. So, I don't know. I don't play enough 2s, I don't think. I enjoy them, I just never get into them that much. Zerglings and roaches are beginning to move out across the map for Splash here, rallying up at this northern watchtower. Will it be enough to break 2 players on his own, though, is the big question here. Well, it kind of depends what kind of warpers we have coming in out of Freakboy here. Depends if we ever get any Marauders into the mix. It looks like we're just sticking on Marines right now. Getting a factory and a starport as well. Might be going to, might be taking up to some sort of quick drop play here out of Light Kite. Try to get a little bit of pressure going on. I don't know exactly what he's planning to do with this quite yet. Zerglings and roaches might be moving in here. Going to be interesting to see if they can do any damage. Zerglings are awfully close to those Marines. They get a few pot shots off, but no real damage done. Kite needs to micro this nicely. Where are the reinforcements from Freakboy? Not quite there. There they are, throwing down the force field, but not quite force fielding off that ramp. So technically, the units of Splash could still get up that ramp. There we go. Another force field going down on a Freakboy's ramp, and losing a couple of Zerglings up here that can, and actually proving to be a little bit useful. Dropping down a couple of buildings on the low ground here. I'm not exactly sure why. These units actually need to be canceled and the buildings lifted up. Freakboy is trying to push down the ramp to assist a little bit and needs to get some more warframes going. Could use the Corona boost those gateways if he has any energy left saved up right now. It's going to be kind of a close call here. I mean, they're going to hold, but are they going to take any damage is the real question here. And it looks like they're actually going to get out just fine. A lot of Marines were lost in that battle. But other than that, they are going to be alright. I don't really think too many SCVs were lost. There are a few Zerglings rampaging through the mineral lines here. I don't know how many kills those got. Quite a few, actually. Then again, those are also going to be Marine kills as well. Needs to take those out before they lose too much more. Oh, man. Now they're moving on to the probe line there. Going to get 2, maybe 3 probes. And probably at least 5 or 6 SCVs before they are finally taken out. Banshee is on the field now, and that's going to be spotted by Splash, unfortunately, for Light Kite. So no element of surprise with that Banshee play out of Light Kite. But I guess you can almost expect that too. For some reason, I didn't even think of it. It didn't even occur to me when I saw the starport go down. I'm a little bit ashamed of that. Banshee cloaking is on the way for Light Kite. Freakboy, she's kind of doing one of the things, has a warp prism out on the field, has a couple more gateways being warped in now, needs to make sure that those get warped in fully before he does commence with any sort of warp prism attack. ZookaMan does have a nice little army here, as we can see the Scantipede even being included in that army, and nobody ever wants to include the Scantipede, so he's pretty happy right now. Quite a few sentries here, 5 sentries, which is always nice for the defense. And in 2s, sentries and defense in general, it's just, kind of a nice thing to have, give or take a little bit. Second robotics being dropped down as well as the robotics bay. I'd say that the red team is looking to be in a fairly good position right now, as they did deal a little bit of economic damage early on. Looks like ZookaMan actually scouting out, trying to find that Banshee a little bit that was doing a little bit of damage over here. But no cloaking is finished yet. There is an observer, so really if Light Kite does push in with that Banshee again after the cloaking is finished, which you see it is almost done there, almost just about 10 seconds away. If he pushes again at that point, ZookaMan is going to have to be there to defend against that. This Warp Prism needs to be very careful, as he is right next to ZookaMan's base. Oh, he manages to slip on by somehow. I would love to see the Banshee go in and start doing a little bit of damage while the Warp Prism force fields off the ramp. I don't know if that's going to be what we're seeing here, but that force field is going to need to go down on the ramp before ZookaMan gets up the ramp. Oh no, ZookaMan! His entire army is going to get up the ramp. Actually, a force field at the very last second is going to allow units to still trickle in, and now these units are trapped. And blue team here, Freakboy, those units are going to die. In fact, they are going to get ravaged by the red team's army. And so no retaliation damage done. I would say that at the moment, the red team is looking to be in a fairly good position here, as it is roughly 1,600 minerals lost by blue team to about 1,450 by the red team. So the blue team is about 2 times more the resources lost than the red team. Not a good position to be in early on in the game. We are 13 minutes into this game at this point. Not much of a standing army for the blue team, as they have lost their army twice now. Even if we just look at the supplies, it is 61, 63 to 44, 88, which I suppose just about evens out in the end. But one big army can be rather terrifying, especially when that army is getting double Colossus production, dropping down a lot of additional gateways. Actually, oh no, is he going to wall himself in? Nope, never mind. There's 4 matrix squares here where he will be able to get out. Just about walling himself in, though. Needs to be careful about that one. Always an awful position to be in, to have to kill your own buildings. Not an awful, just an annoying. I think annoying is a much better word for that. Banshee. Banshees are in the mineral line right now. I was just thinking he should really be doing something with those Banshees. There is an observer here, so both these Banshees, or at least, ooh, one of the Banshees is going to get away. So one of the Banshees is going to die, but again, not all that many kills, only 2 on this Banshee. I don't know if there were any more on the other Banshee. But blue team just not really able to do all that much damage, and they really need to find some way to either secure damage or secure their own base, because pretty shortly they're going to be going up against a menacing army from the red team. The old Roach Hydra composition, which is kind of outdated, except when you have, you know, a bunch of sentries and a couple Colossus to back it up, in which case it becomes very, very potent. Those Roaches tank damage so well. The Hydralisks get up and just pretty much do their work. Hydralisks do a massive amount of DPS, and we want to combine that with the sentries and the zealots keeping the Hydralisks out of danger, and the Colossus doing splash from the back. I think the red team is looking to be in a very solid position here. Definitely has some advantages at this point in time, except for a little bit of a supply block. Blue side of things have quite a few Marines on the field, which are not very good against anything actually on the field right now for the red team. So that kind of takes out the Terran player here. If we look over at our blue Protoss player, Freakboy, he's doing a little bit better. Does have his Colossus up, does have a few Zealots, a few Stalkers, but compared to the numbers of Zooka Man, not looking to be in that good of a position. Zooka has 4 Colossus to the 2, and does have a slight disadvantage in Stalker and Zealot numbers. But when you want to look at the army values themselves, I still think that red team has a nice advantage in this game. Excuse me. And really, if they wanted to, I was just about to say they can go ahead and take their third bases. Blue team, Light Kite, getting a little bit risky, taking a third base of their own. Now, we have to remember, they really cannot defend this base all that well. And if red team decided to come in and push in, they could really just kind of do whatever they want, especially if they did any sort of maneuver where, you know, if let's say the Protoss player sacked his army up into this third base, that Protoss army was going to be caught in here. And so if blue team came back around to defend that, try to catch an army off guard, the Zerg player would then be able to come in at a flank and completely sandwich those, I almost said a nasty word, sandwich those units of blue team, and would be able to take off a decisive victory here. So actually, I suppose, you know what, now that I've kind of talked myself through the logical process, I think that it's actually alright for blue team to go ahead and take this base, considering the fact that part of an army at least would have to be sacked by the red team to be able to destroy this. Same goes for the red team, Zooka Man down here, except I think they're in a little bit better of a position to defend. Well, I guess neither army is actually super mobile right now, considering well, I guess Freakboy does have Blink, so if he used Blink properly, in fact, if both players used Blink properly, since I have not had the production tab up, I have had no idea what's going on. Blink is on the field for both players, so the Protoss army is a little bit more mobile than their opposing army here. Charge also on the way for our blue player. I would love to see Charge-Lot Archon mixed in with some Colossus. Needs to get more Colossus on the field as well. You cannot just be sitting on 2 Colossus to your opponent's 6. That is just not going to end well. Charge-Lot Archon would help that quite a bit, but there's still this entire Bio army that's going to get ripped apart by these Colossus before they finally do go down in battle. So blue team's going to have to come up with some sort of answer for this number of units. Looking at the upgrades over on the red team, our Zerg player on the red team is at 1-1 for his ground army, as well as the Protoss player. Over on the blue team, our Terran player 0-0 and our Protoss player 2-1. So blue team does have well, I guess the Protoss player, really there's no upgrade advantage, I guess. The Light Kite really does need to start his upgrades fairly shortly here, as he cannot just stay on 0-0. We saw that earlier on in this game, and it just didn't, earlier on in this night, and it just didn't really end well at all. Oh, okay, I went to say something, I took the breath in and it just stayed in my chest. That was like the weirdest, most uncomfortable feeling ever. Blue team taking some very, very aggressive expansion here. Light Kite taking a 4th at the 12 o'clock, and Freakboy taking a third at the 6 o'clock position, defending that with gateways and a couple of cannons. This is just right outside this expansion of ZookaSplash, and let's be honest, they don't really know anything about it. I mean, if we want to look at the player cams here, the last they saw, both players, both of their opposing teams, both of their opponents, whatever, did have natural expansions. We want to look at the other side of things. Like Kite and Freakboy do know about this bottom right hand corner base, so they will be able to take that out if they so desire. They saw it going up. It's been up for a while now, so obviously they don't really feel comfortable enough going out and trying to take that down. And since they do have a little bit of control over the middle, actually both players have control over the middle, they know that neither player has this middle area. So right now, map control actually really does favor the blue team, and that's going to be a very big deal, especially if they can really get these expansions established, get this gas income going. Is going to be kind of a big thing for Freakboy, I feel, because he's once again behind in that Colossus count. Now 4 to 6, getting a little bit better there. I don't know if he has Storm for these Templars. I assume he does at this point in time. Yes, he does. Once again, a few Archons in these armies would be a huge, huge deal. Oh, no. Like Kite is actually moving out by himself, the entire Protoss army. There we go, now going to be pushing up the middle. Looks like they might be trying to do some sort of draw tactic here. I don't know if it's going to work too well. The medevacs are going into the main base now of Splash, and that is going to pull at least the Zerg army out of position. And, oh no, but the blue armies are not in position to engage the middle, the main area of the red team. If both of those armies had been in position to go and kill that red Protoss player off, I think that the blue team actually might have been able to win the game right there. But instead, the armies were stalled off a little bit. The Zerg army has time to recover. The Terran army is actually on a move order. It needs to be very careful there. A couple of very nice storms going down on top of those Hydras. It's going to be nice there. The storms now going down on top of the Zealots of the red Protoss player, though. That's not where you want to be landing those. Oh my gosh, the lag is incredible. That's not good. We do have a couple of Archons in the mix now. Oh no, the Protoss on the red side backing up a little bit, allowing the Zerg player to get just annihilated there. But now it's just kind of a Protoss army versus a Protoss army. We have Charizard Archon with some Colossus mixed in versus Colossus and Carriers. Oh man, where did those come from? And now the battle's really starting to heat up as the blue Protoss player is being forced to retreat. I repeat, Freakboy is having to fall back, at least until Light Kite gets here with some reinforcements. There's one medevac going to be dropping off into the main base, probably while the rest of the blue army engages the front once again. But there are just so many Colossus on the field, not a single one went down in that previous engagement, and that is a big deal. Really needs to get those off of the map as soon as possible. Now, one thing we have to remember, red team is beginning to get mined out. There is not a lot of resources left on the map. There is a Nidus network, but that Nidus worm has not popped up anywhere, so far as I know, quite yet. The Zerg army is being forced to fall back into the main base to defend against a small drop there, but again, missing an opportunity to push in with both armies and try to get a little bit of damage done. And that drop in the end didn't really do anything. We see only 6 larvae on the map right now. For Splash, though, needs to really get on that larva production. He could find himself in a world of hurt otherwise. Looks like there are no more Colossus. Oh, one more Colossus in production, and more carriers coming onto the field for ZookaSplash. That's going to be a very big turning point in these upcoming battles. The carriers, a very underestimated unit, especially once you kind of get 4 or 5. If you start mixing in Void Rays as well, you can find yourself in a very, very good position. And I would love these health bars to go away. I'd have to go through menus for that, though, and I'm afraid that if I go to a menu, I'm going to miss some of the action, because this has just been intense so far. Quite a few Colossus amassing now for our blue Protoss player, Freakboy. Looks like he's kind of starting to even the numbers out there. The bio play, I'm not sure is the best decision by Light Kite. I don't even know what his upgrades are right now, especially if they're still 0-0. That will be kind of the death of that team. They're a 1-1 right now. 3-1, 3-1-1 for the Protoss player. Over on the other side of things, Zerg player at 2-2, and ZookaSplash is sitting at 3-3. Upgrades are going in favor of the red team right now. Blue team needs to kind of try to catch up on that, at least make sure they don't fall any further behind. Battle cruiser operational. They're on the field. They're on the way, and that might be the blue team's time to move in once they start getting those battle cruisers on the field. And these players, I believe, are trying to operate via just typing right now, and that can be rather difficult. Colossus do get a high ground advantage. They are able to see up on top of those Hydras, and that is going to mean that they're going to be able to take those Hydras out of the mix there. Roach is going down as well. Nice fungal growth by the Zerg player to be able to take that out. And now it looks like both these armies are engaging. There are so many carriers on the field. Very nice force shields going down by ZookaSplash as well to split part of this army off, not allow these targets to get up on top of the carriers. Red army is getting pretty low on the grunts, though. It doesn't look like they're going to have that much left to pull out of this In fact, if just a quick warband of zealots could really put an end to this army, but there are just so many carriers in the sky. I don't think that the blue army is going to be able to pull this one off. And no, they are being forced to retreat now, as there are only Colossus left, and Colossus cannot shoot down carriers as hard as they might try. These Colossus need to fall back all the way home. He cannot afford to lose any of this. But once again, look at the macro of the blue team. It is just impeccable right now. There are so many bases on the field. I did not mean to do that. And now quickly, while I have a chance, get the health bars the hell off this screen. Otherwise, we just can't see anything that's going on. There we go. Health bars are now gone. Ah, yes, that is nice. Looks like we do have a few probes trying to long distance mine out of Freakboy's base. I can't believe that those actually managed to get all the way around the cannons there without really taking all that much damage. We see a couple of probes getting shot at from the high ground, but oh my gosh, that's actually kind of amusing. Being left with a single shield point, which means that they can actually take 3 hits from a cannon. Looks like the Colossus are coming down, going to try to pick off a few probes that are long distance mining here. Once again, mined out in the main base is ZookaMan. He's almost mined out in his natural. Excuse me, Splash. Pretty much in the same predicament. Not very much left in the main base. Not very much left in the natural. And there are just so many bases. Even the probes being taken out at this point in time. Over at the supply count, we see a Nidus Worm. Where's the Nidus Worm? It is on the top side of the screen here, coming up into this base with all the mules in it. Oh no, this cannot be good for Light Kite. They do not want to lose bases. The bases are their one big advantage right now, so Zork coming out on the top side. In the meanwhile, the Protoss army of ZookaMan going to be coming down and assaulting Freakboy's base. Only 3 Colossus here to try to defend against that. In the meantime, oh, this is not good. This command center needs to just lift off, because the Protoss army of ZookaMan is what they really have to have a fear of. But Light Kite is moving up to defend his own base, and that is, I mean, the Zork army is just going to be gone by the time he gets there because of that Nidus Worm. Another Nidus Worm popping up. He needs to target fire that down. In fact, that does indeed get target fire down, and that is resources that are just gone permanently for the red team, and resources are not something that they can waste right now. They need all the freaking resources that they can get. I think there's another Nidus Worm going up somewhere. Not sure where exactly that would be. Still quite an army left for ZookaMan, but it isn't going to be enough. It is currently 258 versus about, oh, quick math says about 210 there. Maybe 220. I think it's 220 versus 258. So it's a little bit close right now, but blue team still has this remacroing ability, as well as so many battle cruisers up in the sky to help combat against those carriers. Needs to be careful with the splash damage of these Colossus, though, because of 2 or 3 good volleys from this Colossus on this Bio army, and they are going to be toast. So now it is really just down to ZookaMan versus Light Kite. It's going to be a very tense back and forth battle, I have a feeling here. No bases are really left for Freakboy to be mining out of. In fact, he literally has 0 mining bases. He does have this one base in the middle of the map, this gold base that was just being assaulted. So yeah, I mean, it is once again Splash only mining out of a little bit here. It's just kind of army versus army. If ZookaMan does have one base at this southern position here, if that got taken out, it would almost be over for these players. If I were to give it an advantage right now, I'd have to give it over to blue team, as they are just in a very nice position. I think. I mean, this army is just incredible right now. Going to be trying to lead the way with using another Nidus network. I really disagree with the use of these Nidus networks at this point in time, because that is just taking extra resources. Another Nidus network right down here going to be taken out as well. And oh, it looks like that might be the cue for our Protoss player to move out. Oh, it's going to be blue versus red, Terran versus Protoss. Who is going to win? It's kind of a positioning battle here, and both players just decide to fall back. Nobody really wants to engage this Zork player. Now coming into the fray a little bit. That looks like a free army to pick off, if you ask me, folks. And that is only my opinion, unfortunately. As, it looks like, Light Kite getting caught a little bit out of position here. Needs to make sure not to get his army caught alone here. This is a very bad engagement angle for Light Kite. These Colossus just frying away the Bio army. Only battle cruisers left up in the air, and versus carriers, versus stalkers, versus Hydralids. That army is going to fall. Not a good position. However, in the meantime, we do have the red base of ZookaMan getting taken out by, well, SCVs, who are going to get a barracks kill and a small contingency of Protoss units from our Freakboy, whatever. However, this base is still alive and able to operate if we can just get a few more probes down there. It looks like the Zork army trying to get a little bit adventurous there, but it is going to die to Stim Bio. 3-3 Stim Bio versus, well, I couldn't even select a unit fast enough because they died so quickly, but that doesn't mean that, I mean, that was only a small victory there for the blue team. It looks like is about 190 supply versus about 200 supply in 10 supply advantage of the red team. I don't know if either team really has a distinct advantage with 5 more battle cruisers coming onto the field, as well as more and more biologists being popped out. I think ZookaMan is handling this perfectly so far, just kind of running around along this ridge line, killing off any sort of economy that might be there for the Protoss player. Now going to be able to take out the base of the gold base of the Terran player. That base is almost mined out, however, that's not going to be the greatest victory in the world for ZookaMan, but every little victory that they can get at this point in time is going to be such a huge momentum swing. The gold base has now fallen for the Protoss player, so the KiteFreakboy is officially on 0 mining bases. ZookaMan never resumed mining at his base. Looking over at the income tab, it is currently 200, 300 is the highest amount right now, and that is for Light Kite, who could actually be mining even more, and that's going to skyrocket fairly shortly, as he does have about 13 SCVs going to be transferring up to that 12 o'clock base. Once again, a kind of a positioning game. It looks like that 12 o'clock base might be in grave danger of this Protoss army right now, as that is exactly where ZookaMan is moving. This is the perfect maneuver here. If Light Kite loses this base, I don't know if he's going to be able to recover from that. His army actually getting split up a little bit on that low ground, engaging in small sections here. Needs to make sure to target fire these carriers, but no! Oh, needs to just fall back as he is losing battle cruisers to the stalkers. The Marines just are not engaging at all. Awful positioning for Light Kite. He is going to lose 2 battle cruisers before he even is able to turn around and start fighting more carriers coming onto the field before ZookaMan needs to get positioning here. Needs to just try to make something happen. A fungal growth does go down on top of these units, and with no medevac up in the air to heal the Marines, that is a huge deal. A single fungal growth can just wreck this entire bio army. And now we're seeing a little bit of long distance mining out of these SCVs and out of the mules. ZookaMan just going to be happy falling back. He has done a lot of damage. There's just so many carriers on the field. I don't know where all the supply for Light Kite is. He does have 49 Marines and 7 battle cruisers still in the field. 5 more battle cruisers on the way. I don't know if those count on the units tab. I don't think they do. I don't think they do. We can see that there is absolutely no production whatsoever. Excuse me. For ZookaMan right now. Looks like Light Kite's actually going to get a little bit of advantage here. Stimming up, going to be getting underneath these carriers, but losing almost all of his bio in the process. And there goes these battle cruisers as well. Really wasn't able to do almost any damage at all. There's just too many Colossus left on the field right now for Light Kite to be able to engage that straight forward. He really needs to find some way to be able to eliminate these numbers. Some Vikings on the field would probably be his best bet at this point in time. And it looks like, oh, the Red Army going to be pushing out with every last ounce of strength they have. There are probes getting in this mixture as well. That is going to be it for the red team. It's all or nothing here, and I think that they have the advantage, believe it or not. There are 9 battle cruisers on the field, as well as a small contingency of Marines. That there are just so many Colossus and a nice little number of stalkers as well. You can see the red team pushing around, trying to find the expansions of their opponents. But there are none left. It is literally just army versus army. What do we have in the bank right now? Well, not too much, really. About 600 minerals for the Terran player and about 350 minerals for the Protoss. Now, the Protoss player could use those resources to just spawn a bunch of Templar and make Archons, which I would totally be in favor of. That would actually be a huge help. That would soak up a massive amount of damage. Now that the Nidus network coming down, that's going to be the last one that comes onto the field now. Battle Cruiser trying to engage this army, but once again, the Colossus just doing so much damage to the bio, and there is no way for Light Kite to be able to take out all of these Colossus. Now it's going to be kind of a carrier versus... Oh, the Vikings have now joined the fray, actually. Unfortunately, the Vikings were target firing the Colossus for a couple seconds there. Really need to focus down the carriers, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And now we see Light Kite having to fall back even further. Only 1 battle cruiser left on the field trying to pump out 14 Marines, but that is not going to be enough against this army that we're seeing out of the red team here, which is Hydralisk on the ground, which is going to shred the Marines, as well as Colossus and carriers up in the air. Blue team now has no answer for the armies of the red team, and I think that's going to be all she wrote for this game. We can see the supplies plummeting for blue team, 38 total to about 120 total. And there is the GG from KiteFreakboy, and Light Kite not too happy there. And that is going to be it. Red team wins. And that would be ZookaMan and Splash combining their powers to take the victory today. I would have to say that was a fun little experiment. Oh, wow. Kite sounds really pissed. Oh, man, he sounds pissed. I'm kind of scared that he might come into this room now. That was a fun little experiment. I enjoyed doing a 2v2 actually, even though it was a little bit choppy. I think it was totally worth it. And that's something I'm going to have to keep in mind for the future, because I think that was just kind of kind of a nice little fun thing to do. It's really relaxing. That was a great game out of the red team. They're only, I mean, they had a distinct disadvantage in the economy. Blue team at one point had all but the main and the natural expansion of red team. Red team somehow rallied back, was able to start killing off those expansions, and in the end, just kind of had the better army composition, I guess. Those colossus of ZookaMan were just ripping apart the ground armies of Kite, and when you're only remacroing Marines, then, I mean, what can you do? The Marines were really the counter to the carriers in that case, and he just couldn't keep them alive long enough because the 5 colossus out of ZookaMan. So, and I mean, with those carriers up in the sky, the carriers, when you have a little bit of ground support, are just so powerful. And really, the nail in the coffin there, the Hydralisk support out of Splash there was just impeccable. Just enough Hydralisk, had roaches and Zerglings there for a while as well. Had to cut the roaches towards the end of the game, as he really didn't have the resources for that. Had a lot of extra minerals to try to remacro those Zerglings with. Blue team just kind of started falling apart. Their big problem was the fact that you spelled Nydus wrong, Splash. N-Y-D-A-S. Sorry, I hate to be that guy. Blue team, their really big downfall was they never really coordinated their attacks together, I feel. Somehow, they just always were kind of not quite together. There were times in the kind of the mid-game when Kite was dropping off in Splash's base, and if both Kite and Freakboy had attacked the front of the expansions at the same time, they would have been able to break straight through the Protoss army while the Zerg army was defending its base, and that actually would have just ended the game right there. So a couple of missed opportunities by the by the blue team, and it cost them the game in the late game. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break. My voice, if you can't tell, I'm actually talking quieter, and I'm trying to talk a little bit higher because if I talk down here, which is kind of normally where I cast down here, in kind of this grungy-esque voice, I actually kind of have a higher voice, and also the higher you speak, the easier it is on your voice, and my voice is just like gone right now. I'm almost in a whisper, an excited whisper. So, yeah, I'm going to call it a night there. I have made it my goal to finish Justine before Day 9 starts playing, so I have until October 31st. So I will probably end up streaming that tomorrow evening, unfortunately. Just kind of keep an eye on the CoffeeCast webpage. If you have not already liked that, I don't know, am I preaching to the choir here? Let me check to see who I have in the chat. Yep, I'm just preaching to the choir. So just keep an eye on that Facebook page, and I will post when I'm going live with Amnesia tomorrow, probably. On that note, my voice hurts, and I have to be up at 5:30 in the morning for work. Yes. I will see you guys later. Thank you for joining me here on Amateur Attack. Oh, excuse me. And until next time, folks, this is Coffee Break, signing out.